I sat alone in my unfinished basement on Christmas Day, on a folding chair at a rickety card table, eating cold turkey and congealed gravy from a paper plate, while directly above my head, in my dining room, at my table, I could hear my davy laughing and celebrating without me. The floorboards creaked. As someone walked across the room I'd decorated every Christmas for 40 years. Crystal glasses clinked. The set my mother gave me as a wedding present. Silverware scraped against china. The good plates I only brought out for holidays. "This is so nice," I heard my daughter-in-law Vanessa say, her voice carrying clearly through the old heating vents. A real family Christmas without certain people ruining the vibe with their negativity. "Where's Grandma?" That was my granddaughter Shaness, 9 years old, sweet-voiced. "She wanted to eat alone, honey," Vanessa replied smoothly. "You know how old people get when they reach a certain age. Antisocial, set in their ways. She prefers her own company." That was a lie. I'd wanted to sit with them. I'd wanted to watch my grandchildren open presents, to see their faces light up, to be part of the family, but there had been no place set for me at the table. No chair, no plate, just a paper plate of leftovers handed to me with instructions to eat in the basement where it's quiet. I looked down at my Christmas dinner. Dry white meat, a scoop of mashed potatoes already forming a skin, canned cranberry sauce. Upstairs they were eating honey-glazed ham, roasted vegetables, sweet potato casserole, homemade rolls. I knew because I'd smelled it cooking all morning in my kitchen, in my house, the house I'd owned for 40 years, paid off for 30. I was 69 years old. I'd worked for the Chicago Housing Authority for 35 years, retired as a senior administrator. I'd raised my son Marcus in this house after his father died. I'd survived being widowed at 45, survived the grief, survived raising a teenage boy alone, survived and thrived and built a good life. And now I was eating Christmas dinner alone in my own basement like I was the help. Something inside me cracked. Not broke. Cracked. Like ice on a frozen lake. That first fracture before everything shatters. I set down my plastic fork. I looked up at the ceiling, at the pipes and exposed beams, at the single light bulb hanging from a wire, and I made a decision. This ended today. But to understand how I got here, eating Christmas dinner in my own basement while my daughter-in-law hosted a party in my house, I need to take you back 8 months. Back to the night Marcus showed up at my door with his wife Vanessa and their 2 kids, suitcases in hand, asking for help. Before we continue, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to hear my story. If you're comfortable, let me know where you're listening from, and what time it is where you are. Now let me tell you my story. It was a warm evening in late April. I'd just finished dinner, leftover pot roast, eating alone at my kitchen table like I did most nights. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Marcus standing there looking sheepish, Vanessa behind him looking annoyed, and my grandchildren Shaness and Marcus Jr. We called him MJ, looking tired. "Mom," Marcus said, "can we come in? We need to talk to you about something." I let them in, my heart already sinking. This wasn't a social visit. We sat in my living room, the living room I'd decorated carefully over the years with furniture I'd saved for, artwork from local artists, photos of family going back generations. "What's going on?" I asked. Marcus looked at Vanessa. She sighed dramatically, like whatever she was about to say was a huge burden. "We're having some financial difficulties," Marcus said. "I lost my job, corporate restructuring. They let go half my department." "Oh honey, I'm so sorry. When did this happen?" 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks, and he was just telling me now. That stung, but I didn't show it. "We can't afford our condo anymore," Vanessa added. "The rent is $3,800 a month, and with just my salary we can't make it work. We're 2 months behind already." Their condo was in a luxury building downtown, doorman, rooftop pool, the works. I'd visited once. It was beautiful and completely unnecessary for a family of 4. "We were wondering," Marcus continued, "if we could stay with you, just temporarily, just until I find another job. A few months, maybe 3 or 4, you have the space, and it would really help us out." I looked at my son, 42 years old, sitting in my living room asking to move back home. I looked at Vanessa, who wouldn't meet my eyes. I looked at the kids, who looked embarrassed and uncomfortable. "Of course," I said, "family helps family. You can stay as long as you need." The relief on Marcus's face was genuine. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you so much. We'll contribute to groceries and utilities. We won't be a burden." "You're never a burden, baby. You're my son." Vanessa's expression was harder to read. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. They moved in that weekend with what Marcus called just the essentials. It turned out to be a 26-foot U-Haul full of furniture, clothes, toys, kitchen items, decorations, and boxes labeled Vanessa's designer shoes and Vanessa's handbag collection. "Where do you want all this stuff, Mom?" Marcus asked, as movers started unloading. "I thought you said essentials." "This is essentials," Vanessa said, directing movers. "We couldn't leave our good furniture in storage. It's climate sensitive." They took over the guest room, the kids' old playroom which I'd turned into a craft room, and started spreading into the basement. My house was suddenly full of people, of noise, of stuff. The first month was okay. Good. Even. Vanessa cooked dinner most nights. She was actually a decent cook. The kids were polite, did their homework at the kitchen table, went to bed at reasonable hours. Marcus spent his days job hunting, sending out resumes, doing phone interviews. I enjoyed having people in the house again. After years of living alone, the noise and activity felt good. Then the second month started, and things began to shift. Vanessa started redecorating. "Dorothy, this wallpaper is so dated," she said one morning, running her hand over the floral print I'd chosen 20 years ago. "Would you mind if I freshen things up? Just a little paint, some modern touches." "I like the wallpaper," I said. "Oh, of course you do. I just meant, if you were open to updating the space, making it more contemporary. But it's your house." The way she said "your house" made it sound like I was being possessive of something I should be willing to share. 2 days later I came home from my volunteer work at the senior center to find painters in my living room. The wallpaper was gone. The walls were being painted grayish, a color Vanessa informed me was very now. "I hope you don't mind," she said. "I got such a good deal on the painters I couldn't pass it up. This is my gift to you. An update. You should have asked me first. I wanted it to be a surprise. Don't you love it?" I didn't love it. I hated it. That wallpaper had been up when Marcus was in high school, when my husband was still alive. It had memories attached to it, but it was gone now. Scraped off and thrown away. "It's fine," I said, because what else could I say? The damage was done. Then came the bedroom situation. One evening Vanessa knocked on my bedroom door, my master bedroom with the attached bathroom and the big closet. "Dorothy, can we talk?" "Of course. So the guest room is really small for all 4 of us. And the kids need space for their things, their clothes, their school stuff. I was thinking, would you be willing to switch rooms with us? The guest room is actually perfect for 1 person. Cozy. And we really need the bigger room." I stared at her. "You want me to move out of my bedroom?" "Just switch. Not move out. And it makes so much more sense. You don't need the big closet, you dress so simply. We need the space for our things. This is my bedroom. I've slept in this room for 30 years. I totally understand. It's a lot of memories. But we're family, right? And family makes sacrifices for each other. You said we could stay as long as we needed. We need this." I should have said no. I should have held my ground. But Vanessa had this way of making every refusal sound selfish, every boundary sound like I was being difficult. "Let me think about it," I said. "Of course. Take your time. But just so you know, MJ has been having trouble sleeping because the room is so cramped. His therapist says environmental stress can trigger his anxiety. So just something to consider." She left. I sat on my bed. The bed I'd shared with my husband until he died. The bed where I'd cried myself to sleep for months after his death. The bed that was mine, and I felt trapped. 3 days later I moved to the guest room. It was half the size, had a tiny closet, and the bathroom was down the hall. Vanessa and Marcus took over the master like they'd lived there all their lives. By month 3 Vanessa had essentially redecorated my entire house. New throw pillows on my couch. These are from Home Goods, so cute. New curtains in the living room. Let in so much more light. New artwork on the walls. I got these at a gallery opening, real investment pieces. She hosted her book club at my house without asking. 8 women showed up on a Wednesday evening, drinking my wine, eating cheese she'd bought on my credit card, which I'd given her for emergencies and groceries, treating my living room like it was Vanessa's personal entertaining space. When I came downstairs in my pajamas to get water, they all went quiet. "Oh, Dorothy," Vanessa said brightly. "I didn't know you were still up. This is my mother-in-law, Dorothy. These are my book club friends." I was introduced like a prop, like an accessory in my own house. "Don't let us disturb you," one of the women said with a tight smile. I got my water and went back upstairs. feeling like a stranger in my own home. Month 4, Vanessa established house rules. She sat me down at the kitchen table with a printed list. Actual printed bullet points. Now that we're all living together, I think we need some structure. Some boundaries, for everyone's sanity. I read the list: quiet hours, 8 p.m. to 7 a.m., no TV, no music, no loud talking, living room reserved for family time 7-9 p.m., kitchen cleanup must be done by 8 p.m., no unscheduled visitors without 24-hour notice, thermostats not to be adjusted without consultation. These are rules for my house? I asked slowly. Our house, Vanessa corrected. While we're living here, these just help everyone coexist peacefully. You understand, right? The kids need routine, structure. We can't have chaos. I don't create chaos. Of course not. This isn't about you specifically. It's just good household management. I looked at my son. Marcus, you agree with this? He wouldn't meet my eyes. Mom, it's just to keep things organized. It makes sense. It didn't make sense. It made me a tenant in my own house. But I followed the rules because I didn't want to cause problems. Because they were family, because I kept thinking they'd move out soon. Month 5, Marcus got a new job. Good salary, $120,000 a year at a tech company, better than his old position. I was thrilled. That's wonderful, baby. Congratulations. When do you start? 2 weeks. I'm so relieved. Mom, thank you for letting us stay. We'll start looking for a new place soon. But they didn't look. Weeks passed. Months passed. I'd see Vanessa browsing real estate websites, but she always had an excuse. The market is crazy right now. Houses are so overpriced. We're saving for a down payment, need at least 20% to avoid PMI. The schools in our price range aren't good enough for the kids. Meanwhile, they were spending money. I saw the deliveries, new furniture arriving constantly, Vanessa getting regular manicures, expensive haircuts, Marcus bought a new laptop, a new phone, new clothes. They took a week-long vacation to Miami without me and came back with tans and designer sunglasses. How can you afford vacations if you're saving for a down payment? I asked Marcus carefully. It was a work trip, he said, mostly covered by my company. That was a lie. I'd seen the credit card bill he'd left on the kitchen counter. $4,800 charged to his personal card for hotels, restaurants, excursions. They weren't saving, they were spending like always, and they had no intention of leaving. I started to document things. I wrote down dates, conversations, expenses I was covering. I kept receipts. Something in my gut told me I'd need evidence eventually. Then came Thanksgiving. I'd hosted Thanksgiving in my house for 40 years. It was my tradition. I'd make turkey, dressing, greens, sweet potato pie, all the dishes my mother taught me to make. I'd invite friends from church, neighbors, whoever didn't have family nearby. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, Vanessa announced she was taking over the holiday. You've done it for so many years, Dorothy. You deserve a break. Let me handle everything. I want to start creating our own family traditions. Our own family traditions, in my house. I actually enjoy cooking Thanksgiving dinner, I said. I know you do, but you're not getting any younger. Let the younger generation take the reins. You can relax and enjoy. I didn't want to relax. I wanted to cook in my own kitchen. But Vanessa had already invited people, her parents, her sister's family, her cousin, her college roommate. 22 people total. Where are we putting 22 people? I asked. I'm renting tables and chairs. It'll be beautiful. Very Martha Stewart. Thanksgiving morning, I woke up to find my kitchen transformed. Rental tables set up in the living and dining rooms, fancy place settings, floral centerpieces, caterers arriving with trays of food. You hired caterers? I asked. Just for some of the sides. I'm doing the turkey myself. Well, I'm supervising. The caterer is actually cooking it. I'm delegating. Her family arrived at 2 p.m. Her parents walked through my front door like they owned the place. Her mother Carol looked around critically. Vanessa, you've done wonders with this old house. Really brought it into the 21st century. Thanks, Mom. It's been a labor of love. A labor of love. Redecorating my house without permission was a labor of love. Dinner was served at 4 p.m. I moved to sit at the main table. There were 3 tables set up and Vanessa touched my arm. Actually, Dorothy, we didn't expect you to join us. There's not enough room with all my family here. We made you a plate. You can eat in the kitchen, okay? We'll save you leftovers. I stood there speechless. She was banishing me to the kitchen. During Thanksgiving, in my own house. Vanessa. It's just easier this way, family dynamics. You know, my parents get weird about sharing space with people they don't know well. Just for today, you understand. Marcus was already seated at the main table. He wouldn't look at me. I ate Thanksgiving dinner alone in my kitchen, listening to Vanessa's family laugh and celebrate in my dining room. No one came to check on me. No one said thank you for hosting. No one acknowledged I existed. When they left at 9 p.m., my house was trashed. Food spilled on my carpet, dishes piled everywhere, broken wine glass ground into the floor. Sorry about the mess, Vanessa said, yawning. I'll clean it tomorrow. I'm exhausted. She went to bed. I cleaned it myself at 10 p.m. because I couldn't stand looking at it. That should have been my breaking point. But I told myself it was a one-time thing. An aberration. Then came Christmas planning. The day after Thanksgiving, Vanessa started decorating for Christmas. Not asking. Just doing. She took down all my decorations, the ones I'd collected over decades, the ornaments Marcus made in elementary school, the angel my husband bought me our first Christmas together. These are so old and tired, she said, boxing them up. I'm going with the theme this year. Modern farmhouse Christmas. Very Joanna Gaines. Those are my decorations, my memories. And they'll be safe in the basement. But Dorothy, we need to impress. I'm hosting a big Christmas this year. My family, some friends, maybe Marcus's boss. We need to look good. She bought new everything. A fake white tree, $400. Matching silver and white ornaments, $200. A wreath for every door, $180. Outdoor lights, $300. All charged to a credit card I didn't recognize. Whose card is that? I asked. Oh, just a new one I opened. Got a great cashback deal. Something in her tone made me suspicious. That evening while she was out, I checked my credit report online. Something I did quarterly out of habit. There were 3 new credit cards in my name I hadn't opened. 3 cards, total balance, $47,000. My hands shook as I clicked through the charges. All Vanessa's purchases, furniture, clothes, decorations, restaurants, all on credit cards opened in my name without my knowledge or permission. That was identity theft. That was fraud. That was a crime. I printed everything. I saved PDF copies to 3 different places. I called my credit card companies and disputed the cards. They started fraud investigations. But I didn't confront Vanessa yet. I wanted to see how far this would go. I wanted to document everything before I acted. The week before Christmas, Vanessa's parents and her sister came to stay at my house. They arrived with suitcases and shopping bags, making themselves at home. Where should I put Mom and Dad? Vanessa asked me. The guest room, I suppose. Oh, but you're in the guest room. No, they need that room, and my sister needs the kids' room. She's pregnant and needs proper rest. Could you sleep in the basement? Just for a few nights. There's a futon down there. The basement. She wanted me to sleep in my unfinished basement. Vanessa, the basement isn't heated properly. It's December. We'll give you extra blankets. It's just a few nights. Come on, Dorothy. Be a team player. It's Christmas. I looked at Marcus. He was pretending to be very interested in his phone. Marcus? I said. Mom, it's just a few nights. My in-laws are elderly. They need comfortable beds. Her parents were 64 and 67. I was 69. But apparently I was the one who could handle sleeping on a futon in a cold basement. I slept in the basement Christmas Eve night. It was freezing. The futon was ancient and lumpy. I'd bought it for Marcus when he was in college 20 years ago. I could hear them upstairs drinking wine, laughing, celebrating. At midnight I heard footsteps on the floor above me. Then Vanessa's mother Carol's voice, clear as day through the heating vent. I can't believe she actually agreed to sleep down there. Some people have no pride. If it were my house, I'd never let them push me around like this. Mom, be nice, Vanessa said, but she was laughing. She's just very accommodating. Makes my life easier. I lay there in the dark, in the cold, in my own basement and felt something inside me harden. Christmas morning I woke up at 6 a.m. because I was too cold and uncomfortable to sleep. I came upstairs to find everyone already awake, already gathered in the living room, already opening presents. Oh, Dorothy, you're up, Vanessa said, like I was unexpected. We started early, the kids were so excited, we couldn't wait. There was no spot for me to sit. Every chair and couch space was taken by Vanessa's family. Where should I gestured vaguely. Just stand there, you're fine. We're almost done anyway. I stood in the doorway of my own living room and watched my grandchildren open presents. I hadn't been part of buying, surrounded by people who didn't acknowledge my existence. Grandma. Shanice finally noticed me. Look what I got. A new tablet. That's wonderful, baby. Grandma didn't get you anything, Vanessa said sweetly. She said she couldn't afford it this year. But that's okay. We got you everything you wanted. That was a lie. I'd asked Vanessa a month ago what the kids wanted for Christmas. She'd said not to worry about it. They had too much already. I would have gotten you something if I'd known what you wanted, I told Shanice. It's okay, Grandma. I know old people don't have much money. That came from Vanessa's teaching. I was certain of it. By 2 p.m., preparations for Christmas dinner were underway. Vanessa had catered most of it. A honey-glazed ham, roasted vegetables, sweet potato casserole, homemade rolls, 3 different pies. The dining room table was set beautifully. My good china, my crystal, my silver, 12 place settings. I counted. There were 13 people in the house. Vanessa, I said quietly. There's no place for me at the table. Oh. She looked at the table like she was surprised. You're right. Well, we need all 12 seats for family. Mom, Dad, Sarah and her husband, their 2 kids, Marcus, me, our 2 kids, and Marcus's boss and his wife. That's 12. I'm family. I said. Of course you are, but there's just not room, and honestly, Dorothy, I thought you'd prefer to eat in peace. You know how overwhelming big family gatherings can be for older people. I made you a plate. You can take it to the basement where it's quiet. We thought you'd appreciate that. She handed me a paper plate. Not china. Paper. On it was a scoop of white meat turkey, the dry part nobody wanted, a scoop of mashed potatoes, canned cranberry sauce from the back of the fridge, and a roll. The basement, I repeated. It's quieter down there. You said yourself you don't like noise. This way you can eat in peace. I looked at Marcus. He was already seated at the table, adjusting his napkin, studiously not looking at me. Marcus, I said. Mom, it's easier this way. Please don't make a scene. Don't make a scene. At my own exclusion. At Christmas. I stood there holding that paper plate, my hands shaking. I should have thrown it in her face. I should have screamed, but years of being a professional woman, of maintaining composure in difficult situations, kept me controlled. Vanessa, I said quietly, I need to speak with you, privately. She rolled her eyes dramatically, making sure her mother saw. Dorothy, we're about to eat. Can't this wait? No, it cannot wait. Kitchen. Now. She sighed like I was the most inconvenient person on earth. Fine. 2 minutes. We went to the kitchen, my kitchen that she'd taken over, where my pots and pans had been reorganized more efficiently, where my cookbooks had been replaced with her minimalist decor. What? She snapped. I have guests. I want to sit at the table. It's Christmas. I want to eat with my family. Vanessa laughed. Actually laughed. Dorothy, come on, be realistic. My parents would be uncomfortable eating with someone they barely know. You'd just sit there silently while we all talk. It's awkward for everyone. I'm not someone they barely know. I'm Marcus's mother. I'm your children's grandmother. Technically, yes. But let's be honest, you've never really been part of our family dynamic. You're more like a landlord who happens to be related to us. And landlords don't crash family dinners. The cruelty of it took my breath away. A landlord? Well, what else would you call it? You own the house. We live here. That's a landlord-tenant relationship. And honestly, Dorothy, you should be grateful we're willing to live in this outdated place at all. Do you know how many of my friends have asked me why we're slumming it in this neighborhood? I have to make excuses for you constantly. Excuses for me? Yes. Oh, Marcus's mother needs us here. She's getting older, we're being good children. Do you know how that makes me look? Like I married down, like I'm sacrificing my lifestyle to babysit an old woman who can't take care of herself. I can take care of myself perfectly fine. I took care of myself for 20 years before you moved in. Please, Vanessa scoffed. This house was falling apart. The decor was stuck in 1995. You were eating frozen dinners and watching Wheel of Fortune alone every night like some sad cliché. We gave you purpose. We gave you a reason to get up in the morning. And this is the thanks we get? Thanks? You want thanks for taking over my house? For pushing me out of my own bedroom? For making me sleep in the basement? Oh my God, you're so dramatic. It was one night in the basement. One night. And you act like we're abusing you. You know what real abuse is? Real abuse is having to live in a house that smells like old people and mothballs. Real abuse is having to explain to my children why their grandmother dresses like she shops at Goodwill. Real abuse is being trapped in this mediocre life when I deserve so much more. Her voice had risen. Through the doorway I could see her mother Carol looking over concerned. I kept my voice low. If you're so unhappy here, leave. Find somewhere else to live. With what money? You think we're made of money? Marcus barely makes enough to cover our necessities. We're drowning in debt because of you. Because of me? Yes. If you'd just give us the house, sign it over to Marcus like a normal mother would. We could take out a home equity loan. We could pay off our debts. We could finally breathe. But no, you're clutching onto this property like some greedy old dragon sitting on her hoard. It's pathetic. This is my house. I worked for 40 years to pay for it. You have no right. I have every right. Vanessa stepped closer, her voice venomous. I'm raising your grandchildren. I'm the one giving you a legacy. Those kids are the only good thing you'll leave behind when you die. And that's because of me. I grew them in my body. I'm shaping who they become. You're just the old woman who happened to birth Marcus. That doesn't make you special. I felt tears threatening, but I refused to let them fall. Get out of my kitchen. It's not your kitchen, it's the kitchen in the house where we all live. You don't get to kick me out of communal spaces. Get out. Vanessa smiled, cold, calculated, cruel. You know what I think? I think you're jealous. Jealous that Marcus chose me. Jealous that his kids love me more than they love you. Jealous that you're old and irrelevant and nobody really wants you around. That's why you're so bitter. That's why you can't just accept your place in this family and be grateful we include you at all. My place? I could barely get the words out. Yes. Your place? You're the grandmother, the elderly dependent. Your job is to be sweet and quiet, and maybe babysit occasionally. Your job is not to make demands or have opinions about how we run our household. And it is our household now, Dorothy. You just haven't accepted it yet. She turned to leave. I grabbed her arm. Vanessa. She yanked away from me. Don't touch me. That's assault. I could call the police. You're stealing from me. You opened credit cards in my name. Her face went pale for just a second before the mask snapped back. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. I know about the cards. I know about the fraud. Prove it. She hissed. Go ahead. Call the police. Tell them your daughter-in-law is stealing from you. See how that makes you look like a paranoid old woman having delusions. See how Marcus reacts when you accuse his wife of crimes with no evidence. See how fast you lose access to those grandchildren you pretend to care about. I have evidence. No, you don't. You have confusion. You have old age paranoia. You have the early stages of dementia making you imagine things. That's what everyone will think. That's what I'll tell them. She leaned in close. Face it, Dorothy, you're old, you're alone, you're forgettable. The only reason anyone tolerates you is because you own this house. And once we figure out how to get it from you, and we will figure it out, you'll have nothing. You'll be nothing. Just another old woman dying alone in some nursing home, wondering where her family went. She straightened up, smoothed her hair, and smiled brightly. Now, I'm going back to my guests. You can eat your little plate in the basement like we discussed. And tomorrow we're going to have a serious conversation about getting you evaluated for memory care facilities. Because clearly, you're becoming unstable. She walked out of the kitchen, leaving me standing there shaking with rage and hurt and something else. Determination. That conversation changed everything. That was when I knew this wasn't just rudeness or thoughtlessness. This was calculated abuse. This was intentional cruelty. This was war. And I was about to show Vanessa that you don't go to war with a woman who has nothing left to lose. I took the paper plate. I walked to the basement stairs. I descended into the cold, unfinished space with its concrete floor and exposed pipes. I sat at the card table someone had set up down there. I put my paper plate on the surface. And I sat there for exactly 10 minutes. Then I stood up, threw the paper plate in the trash, and climbed the stairs. I didn't go to the dining room. I went to my bedroom, the small guest room I'd been exiled to, and I made a phone call. James, it's Dorothy Washington. I need you to come to my house tomorrow morning. Bring eviction papers. It's time. James Morrison was a lawyer I'd worked with at the housing authority for years. We'd both retired around the same time, stayed friendly. He knew tenant law, eviction law, property law inside and out. What happened? He asked. I'll explain everything tomorrow. Can you be here at 8 a.m.? I'll be there. I hung up. Then I did something I should have done months ago. I went to my filing cabinet and pulled out my house deed. My name. Dorothy Jean Washington. Sole owner. Purchased in 1984. Paid off in 1994. I pulled out my financial records. My retirement accounts. $60,000. My checking account. My savings account. My investment portfolio. All in my name. I pulled out the credit reports showing the fraudulent cards Vanessa had opened. The police reports I'd already filed online documenting the identity theft. I pulled out the notebook where I'd been documenting everything, every conversation, every boundary crossed, every disrespectful moment. I had everything I needed. That night, I slept in the guest room while they partied downstairs. I heard them finally go to bed around 1 a.m., drunk and laughing. Christmas morning, 7:45 a.m. I started banging pots and pans in the kitchen. They came downstairs confused, groggy, annoyed. Dorothy, what are you doing? Vanessa demanded. It's not even 8 a.m. Some people are trying to sleep. Family meeting, I said. Living room, everyone, now. We're not doing a family meeting right now. We're tired. We were up late. Living room, now. Or you can pack your things and leave today. Something in my voice made them comply. They shuffled into the living room. Marcus, Vanessa, her parents, her sister, the kids were still asleep upstairs. At 8 a.m. exactly, there was a knock at the door. I opened it. James Morrison stood there in a suit, holding a briefcase. Good morning, Dorothy. Good morning, James. Come in. Vanessa's face went pale. Who is this? This is James Morrison. He's a property attorney. James, please sit down. James sat in my armchair, the one I'd been banned from sitting in during family time hours. He opened his briefcase and pulled out documents. What is this? Marcus asked. Mom, what's going on? I stood in front of them all. These people who'd taken over my house, who'd pushed me to the basement, who'd treated me like I was nothing. This is my house, I said clearly. I own it. I've owned it for 40 years. My name is on the deed. Not yours, Marcus. Not yours, Vanessa. Mine. You've been guests in my home. We know that. Vanessa started. You've been guests who've overstayed your welcome. Who've taken advantage of my generosity. Who've treated me with disrespect and cruelty. Who've excluded me from my own family, my own dining table, my own Christmas. That ends today. I nodded to James. He pulled out papers. These are eviction notices, James said in his professional voice. Legal notices that you have 30 days to vacate this property. The property owner, Ms. Dorothy Washington, is terminating your tenancy. You can't evict us, Vanessa said, but her voice was shaking. We have rights. We've established residency. You can't just throw us out. Actually, I can, I said. You never had a lease. You were guests. In Illinois, a property owner can evict guests with proper notice. 30 days is more than generous. Marcus, do something. Vanessa looked at my son. Marcus looked at me, his face crumpling. Mom, please. Can we talk about this? In private? We're done talking. I tried to talk. I ate Christmas dinner in the basement. We're past talking. We'll move out, Marcus said quickly. Just give us time, more than 30 days. 60 days. Please. 30 days, I said. But before you go, there's something else we need to discuss. I pulled out the credit card statements. Vanessa, you opened 3 credit cards in my name without my authorization or knowledge. You charged $47,000 to those cards. That's identity theft. That's fraud. That's a felony. Her face went from pale to gray. I was going to pay that back. I was building credit in your name. You were stealing from me. I've already filed police reports. The credit card companies are investigating. You'll be hearing from them soon. You called the police on me. Vanessa's voice went shrill. I'm family. How could you? How could I? How could you? You stole my identity, stole my money, stole my peace, stole my dignity, and now you want to play victim. Marcus was staring at Vanessa. You opened cards in my mom's name. Vanessa, what the hell? I was trying to help us. We needed things. We have a lifestyle to maintain. With stolen money? Marcus stood up. Are you insane? Don't you dare judge me. Vanessa turned on him. I did this for our family, for our kids, so they could have the life they deserve. Your mother is old and alone in this big house. She doesn't need it. She doesn't need the money. We have kids to raise. You're a thief, I said coldly. You're a criminal, and you're leaving my house. Vanessa's mother Carol stood up. Now wait just a minute. You can't talk to my daughter like that. She's been taking care of you, taking care of this house. Taking care of me? I laughed, and it wasn't a kind sound. She banished me to the basement on Christmas. She made me sleep on a futon in an unheated basement on Christmas Eve. She lied to my grandchildren and told them I didn't buy them presents. She redecorated my entire house without permission. She stole my identity and committed fraud. That's taking care of me? Carol's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. You all need to leave, I said. Vanessa's family, you need to leave today. Marcus, Vanessa and the kids, you have 30 days. Where are we supposed to go? Vanessa wailed. We don't have money for first and last month's rent. You're making us homeless. You had Marcus's $20,000 salary for 6 months. You could have been saving. Instead, you spent it all on furniture and vacations and maintaining a lifestyle you can't afford. That's not my problem. The kids think about the kids. I am thinking about them. I'm thinking about what kind of people they're learning to become with you as role models. I'm thinking that maybe this will teach them that actions have consequences. James stood up. I'll leave these eviction notices here. You have 30 days from today. If you're not out by January 25th, the sheriff will remove you forcibly. Also, Ms. Washington has asked me to inform you that if the property is damaged in any way during your departure, she will pursue legal action. Legal action, Vanessa spat. You're going to sue us too. Aren't you doing enough? I haven't decided yet whether to press criminal charges for the identity theft, I said. That depends on how the next 30 days go. If you leave peacefully, if you don't damage my property, if you don't turn my grandchildren against me more than you already have, I might let the credit card companies handle it, civilly, but if you fight me, if you make this ugly, I will prosecute you to the full extent of the law. And I have evidence, recordings, documents, witnesses. You will lose. I let that sink in. 30 days. I repeated. Starting now. When I told them they had 30 days to leave, Vanessa's mask didn't just slip, it shattered completely. You miserable old bitch, she snarled, standing up so fast her chair fell backward. After everything we've done for you? After we gave up our lives to move into this shithole and take care of you? You didn't take care of me, you exploited me. Exploited you? Exploited you? Her voice was shrill now, completely unhinged. We paid you rent. You never paid me a dime. We paid in service, in companionship. Do you know how depressing you were before we moved in? Sitting here alone in this dark house, talking to yourself, becoming one of those crazy old ladies with 50 cats? We saved you from that. I don't have any cats, and I was perfectly happy before you came. Happy? Vanessa laughed bitterly. You were pathetic. You are pathetic. A lonely old woman, desperate for attention from her son. That's why you let us move in. Not because you're generous, but because you're needy. You needed us more than we needed you. Marcus finally spoke up. Vanessa, stop. This isn't helping. Shut up. Marcus, your mother is kicking us out of our home. Our children's home. Where's your spine? Where's your loyalty? This isn't our home, Marcus said quietly. It never was. It's her house. It should be ours. We earned it. Do you know how many times I smiled at her condescending little comments? How many times I pretended to care about her boring stories? How many times I had to look at her sad face across the dinner table? I earned this house. You earned nothing, I said. You stole, you lied, you committed fraud. That's not fraud. I opened those cards to help this family. To buy things we needed because your precious son couldn't provide for us. I did what I had to do. You forged my signature, you used my social security number without permission. That's textbook identity theft. You would have said no. You say no to everything. No, Vanessa, you can't paint the walls. No, Vanessa, you can't rearrange the furniture. No, Vanessa, you can't make this house livable. You're a controlling nightmare. It's my house to control. Vanessa's face was red now, her eyes wild. You know what? Fine. Fine. We'll leave your precious house, we'll take our children and we'll go, and you'll never see them again. Never. I will make absolutely certain that Shanice and MJ forget you exist. I'll tell them you died. I'll tell them you were a terrible person who didn't love them. I'll erase you from their lives so completely it'll be like you never existed. Vanessa, Marcus tried to intervene. No. She wants to play hardball. I'll show her hardball. I have rights as a mother. Those kids are mine, not hers. She's just the grandmother. She has no legal rights to see them. I can cut her off completely and there's nothing she can do about it. Actually, James the lawyer interjected calmly, Illinois has grandparent visitation rights. If Miss Washington petitions the court, oh, she's going to sue for visitation now? She's going to drag us to court. Perfect. That'll look great. The bitter old grandmother who kicked her own grandchildren out on the street at Christmas, now begging the courts to force us to let her see them. I'll make sure every judge knows what kind of person she really is. What kind of person am I, Vanessa? I asked, my voice deadly quiet. You're selfish. You're cruel. You're a vindictive old woman who cares more about property than people. You care more about being right than about your own family. And honestly, you deserve to be alone. You deserve to die alone in this house with no one to remember you, because that's exactly what's going to happen. The room went silent. Even her own mother looked shocked. Are you finished? I asked. No, I'm not finished. You want to know what else? Your son, your precious Marcus, he doesn't even like you. He told me you were cold when he was growing up, that you worked all the time and barely paid attention to him, that you cared more about your career than being a mother. He only visits you out of obligation, out of guilt, not love, obligation. And once you kick us out, once you cut us off, he'll be relieved. He'll finally be free of you. Marcus was standing now, his face pale. Vanessa, that's not true. I never said. You did. You said your mother was emotionally distant. You said you felt like you raised yourself. I said it was hard that she had to work so much. That's not the same thing. She was a single mother doing her best. Oh please. You told me she wasn't there for you. You told me she missed your games and your plays and your graduations because work was more important. She missed things because she was working 2 jobs to keep a roof over my head. Marcus's voice was rising now. Because my father died and left us with nothing and she did whatever she had to do to survive. That's not the same as not caring. Well, it felt the same to you at the time. You said so. I was a teenager. Teenagers say stupid things. That doesn't mean I think that now. Vanessa turned back to me, her lip curled in disgust. You see, even he admits you were a terrible mother, and now you're a terrible grandmother, and you'll be a terrible old woman dying alone because you pushed everyone away with your selfishness. I let her words hang in the air, let them run their course, let everyone in the room sit with the ugliness of what she'd just said. Then I smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. Are you quite finished now? I asked. She crossed her arms, breathing hard. Yes. Good. Because I want to make something very clear. You don't get to threaten me with my grandchildren. You don't get to weaponize those babies against me. If you try to keep them from me out of spite, I will pursue legal visitation. I will document your parental alienation. I will make your life very, very difficult. You think I'm scared of you? You should be, because unlike you, I have resources. I have money. I have connections. I have a lawyer sitting right here who specializes in family law. What do you have, Vanessa? Debt, fraud charges, a criminal record as of right now. Do you really think a judge will side with the mother who committed identity theft against her own mother-in-law? Her confidence flickered. And another thing, I continued. You called me selfish for caring about my property. Let me explain something to you. This house represents 40 years of my life. 40 years of work, of sacrifice, of going without so I could make payments, of maintaining and caring for something that was mine. This house is my security, my retirement, my legacy. You've been here 8 months and you think that gives you more claim to it than my 4 decades of ownership. That's not how the world works. The world is changing, Vanessa said, but her voice had lost its strength. Older generations need to let go, need to pass things down. I'll pass things down when I'm dead. Until then, this is mine. And you're leaving. Fine. Vanessa grabbed her purse. Fine. We'll go. Come on, Marcus. Get the kids, we're leaving right now. You have 30 days, I reminded her. You can leave today if you want, but you still have 30 days of legal residency if you need it. I don't need anything from you. I don't want another second in this house. She stormed toward the stairs. Marcus looked at me, his face devastated. Mom, I didn't know about the credit cards. About any of it. I swear to God I didn't know. We'll talk later, I said. Take care of your children, they're innocent in all this. He nodded and followed his wife upstairs. Carol, Vanessa's mother, stood up shakily. I apologize for my daughter. I didn't know any of this. Now you know, I said simply. She left quickly, followed by Vanessa's sister, who hadn't said a word through the entire confrontation. James and I sat in my living room in silence for a moment. That was intense, he finally said. That was necessary, I replied. She meant those things she said, about keeping the kids from you. I know, but I also know Marcus won't let that happen. He's weak, but he's not cruel. He loves his children and he knows they need their grandmother. And if I'm wrong, then I'll fight for them, in court if necessary. But I don't think it'll come to that. I was right. Vanessa tried to keep the kids from me for exactly 2 weeks before Marcus put his foot down. He was building a spine, slowly but surely. Vanessa's family left that morning, furious and offended. Good. They should be offended. They treated me like garbage in my own house. Over the next 30 days, Marcus and Vanessa looked for apartments. It was harder than they expected. Their credit was terrible. They had no savings, and with the fraud investigation no one wanted to rent to them. Vanessa's parents had to co-sign their lease. They ended up in a small 3-bedroom apartment in a mediocre suburb, the kind of place Vanessa had always looked down on. Marcus tried to talk to me several times. I refused. I had nothing to say to him yet. On January 24th, the day before the eviction deadline, they moved out. I did a walkthrough with James to document everything. They damaged things. Scratches on the hardwood floors from moving furniture, a crack in the bathroom tile, stains on the carpet, holes in the walls from where Vanessa had hung her investment art. I documented it all, took photos, got estimates for repairs. The total came to $3,800. I sent Vanessa an invoice. She never paid it. I sent it to collections. But the fraud case moved forward. The credit card companies investigated. They found that Vanessa had forged my signature on the applications, had used my social security number without authorization, had made no effort to pay the balances. They offered her a choice: plead guilty, pay restitution and accept probation, or go to trial and potentially face prison time. She took the plea deal. 5 years probation, $47,000 in restitution to be paid at $500 per month. Fraud conviction on her record. She blamed me, sent me vicious texts saying I destroyed her life, destroyed her marriage, destroyed her future. I blocked her number. Marcus sent me a letter 2 weeks after they moved out. I almost threw it away unopened, but something made me read it. Dear Mom, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to trust me again. I don't even expect you to respond to this letter. But I need to say something. I need to admit something. You were right about everything. I let Vanessa control me, manipulate me, turn me against you. I watched her push you to the basement, and I said nothing. I watched her exclude you from Christmas, and I said nothing. I watched her take over your house and I told myself it was temporary. It was no big deal. You didn't mind, but you did mind. And I knew it. I just didn't want to deal with Vanessa's anger, so I sacrificed you instead. I sacrificed my mother to keep my wife happy.
I'm ashamed. I'm disgusted with myself.
When you showed me the credit card fraud, I was shocked. I truly didn't know she'd done that. But I should have known something was wrong. I should have been paying attention. We're separated now. I filed for divorce 3 days ago. I can't stay married to someone who would steal from my mother. I can't raise my kids to think that behavior is acceptable. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want you to know I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And I want you to know I'm going to do better. I'm going to be better, for myself, for my kids, and hopefully someday for you again. I love you, Mom. I always have. I just forgot to show it. Marcus. I read that letter 5 times. I cried, but I didn't respond. Not yet. Some wounds need time to heal. Some trust once broken takes years to rebuild. But 6 months later, Marcus called and asked if he could bring the kids by to visit, just for an hour, on my terms. I said yes. They came on a Saturday afternoon. The kids had made cards for me, apologies in crayon. Sorry, Grandma, we love you. Did your dad tell you to make these? I asked. Yes. Shanice admitted. But we wanted to also, we missed you. We sat in my living room redecorated the way I wanted it now, with my old furniture and my own pictures back on the walls, and we talked. I didn't pretend everything was fine. I didn't let them off easy. What your mother did was wrong, I told them. And what your father allowed was wrong. They hurt me. They disrespected me. Do you understand that? They nodded solemnly. I need you to understand something else. Being family doesn't mean you can treat people badly. Being family doesn't mean you take advantage. Being family means treating each other with respect, with kindness, with dignity. Can you remember that? Yes, Grandma. They visited for 2 hours. When they left, I hugged them. My grandbabies who I'd missed desperately. Marcus lingered at the door. Thank you for seeing them. They're not responsible for what you and Vanessa did. I know. But still, thank you. He paused. The divorce is almost final. I'm in a small apartment. I'm paying her restitution, my half of it anyway. I'm in therapy. I'm trying to be better. Good, I said. Keep trying. Can I visit sometimes too? Not with the kids, just me. Maybe we could talk. I looked at my son, this man who'd let me down so badly, who'd chosen comfort over character, who'd allowed his wife to abuse his mother. But he was still my son, and he was trying. Maybe, I said, eventually. But not yet. I'm still angry, Marcus. I'm still hurt. I understand. But you can call me, once a week, just to check in. Just to start rebuilding. His eyes filled with tears. I can do that. Thank you, Mom. That was 8 months ago. Now I'm 70 years old. I live alone in my house that I reclaimed, that I redecorated exactly the way I want it. That's mine again in every sense of the word. Marcus calls me every Sunday. Sometimes we talk for 5 minutes. Sometimes for an hour. We're rebuilding slowly, carefully, like you rebuild after an earthquake. Checking the foundation, making sure it's solid before you build higher. The kids visit once a month. I've started a college fund for them, $10,000 each to start, invested wisely, untouchable by their parents. Vanessa sends me angry emails sometimes, blaming me for her probation, her divorce, her ruined credit. I delete them without reading past the first line. Last week, I hosted Thanksgiving again. My tradition, my way. I invited friends from church, neighbors, people from my volunteer work, people who appreciate me, people who treat me with respect. 12 people around my table, eating my food, in my house, with me at the head of the table where I belong. Marcus asked if he and the kids could stop by for dessert. I said yes. They came at 7 p.m. after my guests had left. We ate pie together in my kitchen. This is how it should have been, Marcus said quietly. I'm sorry I let it get so wrong. It's not about how it should have been, I said. It's about what we do now. Moving forward. Can I ask you something? He said. Why didn't you kick us out sooner? Why did you wait until Christmas? I thought about it, because I needed to be sure. I needed to document everything. I needed to know it wasn't just me being oversensitive or difficult. And I needed you to see it. Really see it. If I'd kicked you out in month 3 or 4, you might have convinced yourself I was overreacting. But Christmas dinner in the basement? That was so egregious, so cruel, that you couldn't deny it. You couldn't make excuses. He nodded slowly. You're right. If you'd done it earlier, I would have thought you were being unreasonable. But after that, I knew Vanessa had gone too far. I knew I had gone too far. Sometimes people need to hit rock bottom before they can change, I said. For Vanessa, rock bottom was a fraud conviction. For you, it was losing your mother's respect in your marriage. For me, it was eating Christmas dinner alone in my basement. We all hit bottom. Some of us are climbing back up. Some aren't. This Christmas, I'm hosting again, my way. Marcus and the kids are invited for the whole day. Vanessa is not. I've decorated my house the way I like it. My ornaments, my traditions, my memories on display. I'm cooking my mother's recipes. Setting my table with my good china. Inviting people who value me. And I will never ever eat Christmas dinner in a basement again. Because this is my house. My home. My sanctuary. And I've learned something important. Family is not an excuse for abuse. Blood relation doesn't entitle anyone to disrespect. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to show toxic people the door. Even if they're your son's wife. Even if it means spending holidays differently. Even if people call you harsh or unforgiving. Because you know what's harsher. Making an elderly woman eat Christmas dinner alone in a basement. You know what's unforgiving? Stealing someone's identity and committing fraud. I did nothing wrong. I set boundaries. I protected myself. I demanded respect. And I'd do it again.